If you didn't have to worry about money or finding a job when you graduated, would you still pick the same major? That's the question I was asked pretty recently. Actually, earlier today, I was asked that question. Um, and for me, honestly, I probably would pick a different major. If I didn't have to worry at all about money or finding a job when I graduated, honestly, I would probably have majored in something else, to be completely honest with you. I majored in information technology management, and at my school, that was in the business department. For me, it gave me a nice blend of programming classes with some like other technology classes like database and networking, and enterprise architecture, as well as some business classes. But I'll be honest, I didn't really care for the business classes that much. There was like accounting and finance. That stuff didn't really interest me. But I picked that because I wanted to avoid taking the really heavy math classes and then take, I wanted to avoid those and I wanted to focus on programming classes. So I took some programming classes as electives that were in the computer science department and I supplemented my own schedule with those. But that was all designed for me to get a job like I have now. And I graduated, let's see, like a little over 5 years, almost 6 years now. So relatively recently, um, and I accomplished my goal. I accomplished what I set out to do. I wanted to go to school, have that experience, and then ultimately, get a job once you graduate. And it can be a stressful time because, especially when you're a senior and you're getting closer to the last semester, you start to send your resume out places and you don't hear back for a while and you start to get a little nervous about when reality starts to set in after after college and you start to realize this is it. I need to find a job and the thing that I studied 4 years for. And the pressure is there obviously to make money because now you have to start earning a living uh, and providing and doing those kind of things, if you're in that situation. And honestly, that's a big driver for why a lot of people pick their major. It makes sense because you have to go get a job, and that's a big part of why I picked IT. Is because I knew that I would be able to find a job when I graduated, and I did. But if I removed all those factors of money and finding a job, to be honest with you, I think I would have picked writing, philosophy, or something similar, something that was more thinking and reading and writing like essays about like philosophical topics and those kind of things. I think I would have picked that. I really enjoy doing that, and I feel like I haven't gotten to do that as much just from working full time in software engineering. And I like thinking that way. I feel like that realm of thinking is pretty different from how programming is. Programming is very logic based. Everything is very black and white. But the other side of that is very gray, like philosophy and writing and everything. The lines are pretty blurred, and sometimes it's nice thinking that way for a change because it allows you to think. I think it allows you to think more creatively and a little bit more sometimes abstractly. And I feel like software engineering attempts to make you think in the abstract sense, but to be honest with you, I feel like whenever we add layers of abstraction in the code, it's just adding another logical layer. It doesn't really make you think about it in the same way that abstract concepts in philosophy or writing make you think, in my opinion. So I think that that's what I would have done. Now, obviously, finding a job in those fields is going to be a little bit different in software engineering. I don't know what the current state of that world is, finding a job in writing or philosophy or anything like that. I don't know what that looks like. I do know what the software engineering world looks like for finding jobs. And I think it's a difficult balance. And I think we're all ultimately faced we're all going to be faced with a difficult choice. Do we pursue something that we want to, or do we pursue the thing that we feel like is going to, give us a leg up when we graduate in terms of jobs? And then do that for a long enough period of time while you develop and while you figure out, maybe what else you want to do. And that's a difficult choice because one path, sometimes the reality is that the thing you want to do, sometimes there's just not that many readily available jobs. And sometimes the choice is then to do something that you don't really want to do, or maybe you just kind of want to do, or maybe you're just making yourself do, and do that for a long enough period of time until you can save up some money and then do the thing that you want to do. But that's a difficult choice. But I think everyone's going to be faced with that. And I can't say that it's an easy choice, but I also don't think that you can make the wrong decision, because I think you can always pursue what you want to pursue at any time. I don't think it's ever too late to do something that you want to do. Like once you lock into your job, right, you're not really locked in. It feels like you're locked in. That's why I said that. But you can change it at any moment. You can change it at any time. Obviously, you're going to have to figure out the money side of it, which is why people get stuck, which is unfortunate. But that's just reality, so you have to navigate that. So I think you do have to come up with a plan if you choose the route of pursuing what you want to do, because you still have to make money and you still have to provide for yourself and you have to take care of basic costs of living. So you have to make a plan. And while you're at college, if you're there for 4 years, and use that time to obviously study for your major, but use that time to create that plan. Use that time to figure out, what is it going to take for me to be doing the thing that I want to be doing. And I think it just requires an honest sit down with yourself to talk through that, either with yourself out loud or with somebody that you're friends with, somebody who is open to listening and who's not going to try to persuade you. I think it's important, because I think it's difficult sometimes when you're talking to somebody who is in, a major that they picked because it's going to get them a job. I think it's easy to talk to somebody, I think it's difficult to talk to somebody sometimes in that major, because the temptation there is that they're going to try to persuade you to do what they're doing, or do something that is just going to make a lot of money, or something that's just going to get you that immediate employment after graduating. And while I think that there's some merit to that kind of advice, sometimes I think it's just beneficial to have a conversation that somebody is able to just listen and just, I think, be supportive in the thing that you truly want to do or are passionate about. Because I've noticed that sometimes, at least for me, whenever I talk about a passion or an interest, just openly, without any kind of other party trying to persuade or convince, sometimes I end up figuring it out as I'm discussing it or as I'm talking about it. And sometimes I figure out, maybe my plan's not going to work, or maybe my plan is not, completely thought out the best it could be. Now, that's not to say that it's going to discourage me from doing any of that, but I think it helps just to talk through it and just to hear it out loud to help you process, if that makes sense. And so I think that as you're approaching this decision, I would honestly suggest to you to create a plan for what it would look like if you pursue a major in the thing you're really passionate about, versus creating versus a plan when you pick a major that you don't really want to do, but it's going to get you a job once you graduate. And then how long do you have to work in that job before you can transition into the thing that you actually want to do? And I think that those are two very different plans in terms of both length and also, implementation. but I think that the end goal might be more similar than you think. So if I guess if it seems really far off sometimes, or if it feels really far off, like it's easy to look down the road and kind of get discouraged and say to yourself, man, it just never feels like I am going to be doing the thing that I want to do. I think it might be closer than you think. And even if it's 5, 6, 7 years down the road, I think once you get there, you're going to look back and you're really not going to think about how long it took anymore because you've made it. Um, Now, if you go right into the thing that you want to do, I think it's easy to be burnt out very quickly because all of a sudden you're doing the thing that you want to be doing, but now you've brought money into it, which can kind of sometimes that can alter your thinking about it. And sometimes it can make the thing that you used to do not all that exciting. So I think that you just have to prepare mentally for what's going to happen when on either of the things that you decide on. And I think that I don't think that there's a wrong choice, but I think just having a plan, I guess, is really what's important. For me, I said philosophy or writing or something similar. Uh, I say that now, but when I was in school, I think I really wanted to. Well, when I was in school, I liked learning programming. I really liked the classes, but I didn't really care for the business classes all that much. I still felt like I learned some things, but I didn't really like it as much as I think I could have or maybe should have. But I actually really did like the programming classes because it felt like for the first time I was actually learning the thing that I finally wanted to learn. Now it took really until junior and senior year for me to eventually start taking the classes that I want to take. Um, and I could look back and say maybe I should have picked a minor or something to supplement that maybe that time that I didn't or that time I wasn't doing programming. But honestly, I don't really think about that anymore just because for one, I've graduated and I've moved past that period of my life. But two, I just don't really think about it. I don't really look back and wish I had done something else because I know that it's still within my power to change it. And I know that now, uh, well, I should say, but actually, before I get too far, I did have a crisis. I've talked about this before where I thought that I wanted to do woodworking about a year into software development because I didn't like it. And it took me about another year to kind of get over that wall. I would say that I'm still processing that, and I would say that I can see that happening again for me. But I think the next time it happens, I think I'll have a little bit better of an idea of how to think about it or what to do, and how to create a plan to navigate that situation. But we'll see. And honestly, I think that this YouTube channel for me just kind of satisfies like that writing and kind of creative side that I still want to do, as well as help me out in programming because I get to work on stuff that I want to work on. Which by the way, I looked at the poll, so it looks like, at least last time I checked, it looks like system design had the most votes as of earlier today, I think. I'm going to leave it open for, or I'm going to leave it up for a few more days before I really decide how I'm going to do that. I have so I finished reading the RabbitMQ book, and now I'm reading through a system design book. So I'd like to get a little further in that before I start the series. But now I know for sure, like, okay, we can talk about system design things. We can talk about mock systems that we can kind of diagram out. We can talk about system design interviews. We can talk about just common terminology, just just the most common terminology that you should be aware of. Different technologies that'll pop up in a pretty typical system design. Because honestly, like once you start looking at a few, there's a lot of overlap. Once you start identifying like the core pieces of a typical system, I think you're going to get the hang of it faster than you think. So anyway, I'm excited for that. So I think that's it for today. So I'll see you in the next one.